Okay, good morning, everybody. Hello, hello. One of the toughest jobs always starting this meeting is bringing everybody to attention. I know there's a lot of great conversations going on and networking going on, but we're going to get this underway. Welcome to the Cedar Rapids Metro Economic Alliance's annual meeting. My name is Doug Newman, and I am privileged to work with the amazing team at the Economic Alliance in service of our nearly 1,200 member businesses. We appreciate so many of you being with us today. A much larger crowd than we've had in a number of years, and it's great to fill the ballroom once again. This is one of our largest and most important events each year, so thank you for being here. I'll say thank you several times today. All of you, as valued members of the Economic Alliance, are why we even exist as an organization, and you are why we are here today. I hope many of you got a chance to do some catching up with friends and colleagues during the networking period. If you got here as you came in and found your table, certainly it was great to see a number of you and be able to catch up briefly with you. For those of you still networking, and people really did come to order pretty well, this is usually when we call people, hey, come on in and find your table. We're going to jump into a jam-packed 90 minutes worth of an agenda. For those of you already seated, certainly please start to enjoy your lunch and enjoy the show. At your tables, in addition to lunch, you'll see the recently published Livability magazine. We'll be using this tool throughout the year as part of our talent attraction marketing campaigns, and it's a great tool for any of you to give to prospective employees or new to the area employees to get people to recognize all of the amazing things about our new community. If you find that magazine to be a useful tool, we can provide additional print copies of it, or the digital version is available at the web address, which is right on top of the magazine cover, if you want to use it in that way. I also want to call your attention to the printed program that you'll find on your table. It includes bios of all 5 of our panelists that you'll hear from later on in the meeting, and you'll also find a QR code there that'll take you to our brand new website and our 2022 annual report. There's a ton of information in that annual report that won't be covered in the meeting today because of time limitations. So I'm asking you, please take a look at that report on your own in order to get the most complete update of all the goals and accomplishments and all that's going on with the Economic Alliance. I mentioned the website. Here's what it looks like, a couple of clips from the brand new website. It was launched just a couple of days ago after more than 6 months in the making and after quite a few years with our old website. It is home to a variety of information such as cost of living and quality of life information, a more user-friendly membership directory, and it will be home to 6 workforce recruitment videos that you'll get a sneak preview of a little later in the meeting today. This is going to be a great new tool for Economic Alliance members to use. We're excited about this as a team, and I think you're going to be impressed with the new website. Check it out at cedarrapids.org. Next up, I want to thank our generous sponsors. Thank you, first of all, to U.S. Bank, our presenting sponsor of this event for the past 11 years. Troy, Kelly, Nancy, the whole groups down here on the U.S. Bank tables, thank you. We're very grateful to your support that you provided year after year, and we'll hear more from both Troy and Kelly in a bit. Also, a big thank you to our supporting sponsors, True North Companies, Riverside Casino, Mercy Medical Center, CRST, the Transportation Solution. All of these businesses are shining stars in our community, and we are pleased to have you on board with us at this meeting and throughout the year. We're going to hear from and about several of you throughout the meeting today, so I'll keep it at that for now, but know that we appreciate you, and we thank you so much for the corporate sponsorship support of the meeting today. Several of our ambassadors are here today. You can't miss them in their red jackets. Many of them were helping welcome you as you came in and help find your table. The full list of those serving in our ambassadors right now is up on the screen. And if you are with us today, thank you so much for your work with the ambassador program. We appreciate all you do to help our members, the community, and the Economic Alliance. I want to recognize the elected officials here, as well as representatives of elected officials and any other public sector officials who play key roles in the work we do. Local, state, and federal governments are key partnerships with us, and we very much appreciate the public service these women and men perform. This part is always really challenging in a room this big, but we'll give it our best try. Let me first work through a few names and a lot of positions and acknowledge all of the various people, and then I'd ask for a round of applause at the very end of that when we get everybody here. And I would have you stand as I get to you. At the federal level, we're honored to have with us today from Senator Chuck Grassley's office, Rochelle Fuller, from Senator Joni Ernst's office, Brittany Carroll, from Congresswoman Ashley Hinson's office, Sam Pritchard, and Andy Whiting. While state legislators are invited to this event, the legislature's in session, so I don't think any of them are with us, but I do want to recognize their service, and of course, if any of them are with us, please stand. And then here comes my long list of local officials. If you are a mayor, a city council member, a member of a county board of supervisors, a school board member, a city manager, or a city administrator, please stand up. And that certainly includes elected officials from surrounding towns and counties that are part of our region. I'd like to recognize all of you. I know there's a lot of people here, city council members, mayors, thank you for your service. If there's any other position that I haven't left out, if you were on a ballot and you got elected, God bless you for your public service, and please stand to be recognized. Thank you for your public service. Okay, I think that does it for the warm-up act. Let's keep this going as I welcome to the stage President and CEO of CRST, the Transportation Solution, and the 2022 and 2023 Economic Alliance Policy Board Chair, Hugh Eckberg.
Yeah, somehow Doug convinced me to do a second year, but very honored to do so. Want to thank all of you, first of all. Great members of this community that support everything we do here in Cedar Rapids and keep Economic Alliance on point to deliver on our promises. But a special thanks to my fellow board members that are here and a couple board members that will be leaving. I'll recognize in a minute. But I want the group to know this is a very engaged, committed board with lots of ownership. We engage in, I hope you all believe, I know I believe, very meaningful and important discussions at the board level. And every one of the members of the board is very active to engage in those discussions, share opinions, challenge us to make sure Economic Alliance is providing value as we operate and support our community. But a very special thanks to two of my friends that are leaving the board. So Charity Tyler and Chris Wheeler will be finishing their terms and leaving the board. So a quick round of applause for those great contributors. And then I want to welcome new board members, Rocky Shepard, Paula Land, and Ted Kepros, who are joining the board. So we really thank you for your commitment to support our community. So our board discussions this year covered many topics. We had the statewide talent poll, the regional economic development plan, focus on the pace of our labor force recovery, obviously talked about legislature and what we're doing in legislatures, working with business leaders to narrow our focus on the highest priorities for future success. How to best leverage our financial reserves, and how to best position ourselves in key community discussions such as the City of Magnon High School, Iowa Big, Cedar Rapids School Bond, which is a very big referendum, we know it's coming up, casino development, and many other topics face us as we think about how do we continue to move our community forward. Hopefully you all agree those are very important and essential topics that are critical to our future. I'll touch a bit more on those in a minute, but our bylaws do require that I do talk about our performance this year. So as we look at last year's goals and metrics, I'm going to do this on a pretty abbreviated basis because I'm really more focused on where we want to be going in the future. But it was a strong year for Cedar Rapids Metro. Takes many factors, many contributors to achieve the success that we did see in the community this year. And many of you in the room obviously are integral to that success. The Economic Alliance was clearly aligned and pushing with all of you to help make many of these things happen, but it does take all of us to achieve those high priorities. It was a strong economic development year, both with new business wins as well as existing business expansions. We had successes in the public policy space, maintaining our bipartisan credibility, which very few organizations can do, I think, as well as this Economic Alliance does, so credit to Doug and his team for that. We continued what's now a very strong tradition, meeting with our buy local focus. And you'll hear more about that later in the meeting. But our outreach and involvement with the business community was very good. Our scorecards, which I think will pop up here pretty quickly. You know, what you'll see, if you can see them up on the board, is mainly green across the entire board of our key metrics. And those are the metrics and the goals that were set by the Policy Board, Innovation Councils, and all of our stakeholders. So again, good results. And our baseline programs, our events and our services continue to be valued by the membership, as evidenced by very strong involvement in Leadership for 5 Seasons, Impact CR, Good Morning Cedar Rapids, our Bix Mix networking events, as well as the Downtown Farmers Market. So, very important things. I want to talk a little bit more about where we're going. On our 2022 financials, I want to make sure you understand that. So, revenues exceeded plan, costs were below plan, and we had a clean audit. So overall, I think we can say we had good financials. I'm not going to talk about the investment portfolio because I'm sure none of you want to talk about it either, right? 2022 is a tough year, but we do have good reserves in the Economic Alliance, and we're healthy going forward. So, as I said, those are all very important things. Focusing on the core things Economic Alliance does to support the community day to day is very important. I don't want to minimize that, but we're really more focused at least at the board level, and I hope that the role that I bring and our vice chair, Ann Parmley, brings, as well as the entire board, is really focusing on where we really want to be taking the community in Metro Cedar Rapids. Obviously, if you want to see more details, as Doug mentioned, there's a QR code in your table. You can look up the full results. So, this is a well-run, solid organization, feel very confident in their ability to do all those things. But the board this year has really had a lot of discussions with Doug and the team of don't need to focus on those core operating issues in our board level meetings and our discussions. We want to talk about those things if there's issues or opportunities that have to be addressed, but we really want to focus on where are we really going? Where is the Economic Alliance going to create the most value for the community? And so we want to champion plans and innovation that sets our community apart, that leverage our unique capabilities and also deal with our unique challenges. Those of us that live here, even newbies like me, so if you don't know, I've only been in this town 6 years, but very, very happy to be here in Cedar Rapids. My wife and I have lived many places, and as Doug knows, I say this a lot, probably our favorite town we've lived in. And we've lived everywhere from Boston to Chicago to Cleveland to Kohler, Wisconsin, many places, but we really, really enjoy the great environment we have here in Cedar Rapids. But we need to be thinking about how do we make this community even greater. We need to make sure there's some sizzle, some big dreams that we can be articulated, more importantly executed, to make this place where young talent and future leaders want to stay, and also make it a place where visiting talent and visiting companies come here and really walk away going, wow, this would be a great community to be part of. So a lot of avenues those discussions might go down, and I look forward to working through those with the board and with all of you. I'm just one vote in the board, but I can tell you I've taken a personal interest and a significant involvement with how our business community can be better connected to and more involved in the educational arena, and how we can make better, more relevant connections between area businesses and the next generations in our schools now, and how they contribute to the continued growth and success of the Cedar Rapids community. So I'm excited about the plans for the new City View Magnet High School. I'm sure you'll be learning a lot more about that. It's, to me, actually very exciting. I'm a big supporter of Iowa Big and its practical, business-based, hands-on learning experiences. I sense the business world wants to better understand what this big Cedar Rapids referendum is and what this bond issue is to truly give us a transformational vision of what education should be here in Cedar Rapids. We also celebrate that in 2022, the Economic Alliance helped with connections that made possible the first high school-based registered apprentice in this area. We've long valued our partnership with Kirkwood and the critical role it plays in the education and developing of a workforce here in the community. And we'll also, you're going to hear more today about how we're doing more work, and there's a keen focus with Mount Mercy and Cornell, and more involvement with them and how they can help in the workforce development as well. Other possible initiatives are going to come up, of course, and we think they need to be focused on exciting things such as core district development, more quality of life amenities, infrastructure development, many of the things that are going to create that buzz around Cedar Rapids. And we'll get into the specifics, but for today, I wanted to signal our awareness and our focus on something more than just the basics. You'll hear some things in this meeting today that start us on that path. There's definitely some sizzle and some innovation and things we're going to talk about, and we're very excited about getting onto that path and making those things happen. Everything we do Whether it's regarded as a success or a challenge, we do in partnership with many, many others. Our work is a collaboration that helps us all succeed. And here, to reflect more on those many, many important partners, my colleague, my friend, the CFO of Collins Aerospace, and been on the board with me for many years, Tatum Boozy.
Thank you, Hugh. You know, this is supposed to be Ann Parmalee's job today, but she has left us for warmer climates, so you are stuck with me. As the former chair and vice chair of the policy board, I thought that this time around I was gonna just get to sit and have lunch, but alas, here I am. And although I'm just teasing Ann, I just wanna say that we want to recognize her great contributions to the Economic Alliance Board, and we're really excited for her that she's landed her new role at True North Companies. She can leverage the incredible network and community experience that she has, along with a company that's contributed so much to our community. So congratulations to Ann on her new role. As Hugh mentioned, the policy board discussions throughout my years on the board have been substantive discussions about things that matter to all of us and things that matter to Collins Aerospace. We value our membership of the Economic Alliance, and I've been proud to be a part of this board. And it is truly my honor today because I get to say thank you to a whole bunch of people, both partners in the work the Economic Alliance does and members of our various governance groups. So let's hold our well-deserved applause until the very end to try to make this go a little bit more smooth. So first, here's a long list of our many strategic partners: city and county governments, educational institutions. We also partner with labor councils, economic development corporations, business centers, and many associations. Almost all of these entities are members of the Economic Alliance. Some we work with on very specific things, and some we work with almost every day. The critical point is that many accomplishments happen because work is done in collaboration and through partnerships in the region, never alone or in isolation. We simply could not do our work without all of you. It's important to note, too, that from our vantage point, the vast majority of organizations in our economic development ecosystem are aligned and collaborative, working hard with and for each other. Let me also mention that while it's so critical to acknowledge partners, it's also easy to miss someone, and I know that Doug and the team at the Economic Alliance view this as a very important part of today's meeting. So if any key partner has been missed, please see an Economic Alliance member and let them know, and we do apologize for any oversights. On the governance side, we're a little more confident that we've included everyone here since all these people have been nominated and elected and have been serving on these councils. These lists include everyone on a council and particularly emphasize those who are completing their terms and will be rolling off of the council. These folks give their time and talent to our organization, and their service is greatly appreciated. This has been the Community Development Innovation Council, so now let's switch to the Business Support Innovation Council. And I will give you just a few seconds to look at the names on this slide. Okay, and now our Economic Development Innovation Council. All of these people help tremendously in discussions about the strategic direction of the organization, and particularly with those specific core functions. Several of our most important events, programs, and services were born out of discussions with these innovation councils, and we sincerely appreciate their service. As a means to keep as many member companies involved as possible, a company can only have one representative on one council at a time. So each year, we see a bunch of new faces getting involved, and usually they also are from a new batch of businesses. So here, you see everyone who will be new to innovation councils this year. And then last, but certainly not least, we must recognize the Economic Alliance's 47 largest investors who comprise our large investor council. As you browse that list, let me note some important facts about membership. The organization has had a strong new member year in 2022. We're nearing 1,200 members. And while we've broadened the base with more members, it's also significant that we've been able to add new members to this large investor council. Strong companies have stepped up and said, yeah, I can do more. And that has certainly sustained operations during some tough recent years. So thank you to this large investor council and to all of our members. So by now, I'm sure I've mentioned about half of you in the room, and here comes the applause. So for everyone on these lists, thank you. Please join me. I know Doug mentioned this already, but on behalf of the board, I just want to recognize the Economic Alliance team. Here you can see them up on the screen. This is a team that works tirelessly to make things happen on our behalf. They are smart, they are innovative, and they're really a lot of fun. So from the board, thank you to Doug and his team. Let's share our appreciation for all they do. All right, and now we'd like to turn things over to a couple of leaders representing today's annual meeting presenting sponsor. Please welcome Troy Smith, Wealth Management Market Leader for U.S. Bank Private Wealth Management, and Kelly Lynn Daufelt, Senior Vice President of Commercial Banking. Kelly also has served our Economic Development Innovation Council, including serving as chair in 2021. Welcome, guys.
Thank you. U.S. Bank is proud to be the presenting sponsor for today's event. And on behalf of our entire team at U.S. Bank, I'm glad to be part of the program today. You know, in an era where too many lists, trophies, and achievement awards seem to have diminished the importance of truly noteworthy accomplishments, the Howard Hall Excellence in Business Award still holds prominence as one of the truly significant awards in the business community. This award is the only one the Economic Alliance gives each year to honor a business leader, and one of just 4 annual awards, in addition to 3 Bravo Awards given for business excellence that are presented by the Economic Alliance. Its roster of winners reads like a who's who of Cedar Rapids business excellence. Excuse me. The Howard Hall Excellence in Business Award is presented to a leader who exemplifies the outstanding, enduring business values of the late Howard Hall and Mr. Hall's vibrant passion for Cedar Rapids and Lynn County. Howard Hall was an industrialist and philanthropist who used his influence, wealth, and tireless passion for Cedar Rapids to create a better local economy and community. His business successes were well known. Iowa Steel and Iron and Iowa Manufacturing, and his house, the Bruce Moore Mansion, stands today as an iconic historic feature of Cedar Rapids. The only National Trust historic site in Iowa and one of the premier visitor attractions in our region. But Howard Hall was a titan in less visible ways, and that's an important trait in consideration of this award. Mr. Hall was dedicated to the development of our region and frequently worked quietly behind the scenes to spur economic development, to partner on community development projects, and to strengthen the nonprofit sector. We continue to benefit tremendously from the many contributions, not only of Howard Hall, but of the entire Hall and Perrine families. And now I'll turn this over to Kelly to talk about this year's recipient.
I am honored to present our Howard Hall Excellence in Business Award to the recently retired President and CEO of Mercy Medical Center, Timothy Charles. Tim Charles retired from Mercy Medical Center at the end of 2022 after spending 19 years with the organization, 15 of those years as president and CEO. In that time, he led Mercy to significant expansion and achievement. Signature projects included the Hall Perrine Cancer Center, the under-construction Plum Heart Center, as well as the development of Hall Mar Village, an advanced medically integrated community for seniors, including those with dementia. That's a mouthful. He also led Mercy through significant challenges, including the flood of 2008, the pandemic, and the derecho, all while placing patient care and staff safety first. He co-founded the Med Quarter, which has led to development and beautification efforts in the MedQ district. Tim has a list of professional affiliations too numerous to mention this morning while I stand here at the podium, and a list of honors and awards just as long. While all of that was meaningful to the Howard Hall Excellence in Business Selection Committee, his work beyond the hospital resonated as well. His community and volunteer board service is extensive. And the decision of Tim and his wife Janice to stay here after retirement and continue to work hard to improve this community, well, we're all just sure Howard Hall would have approved of that. As Tim begins making his way up on stage, I'm going to start speaking more slowly. You will notice he has a friend with him. Just 2 weeks ago, he had a hip replacement. Oh, not using your cane. Just 2 weeks ago, he had a hip replacement, but he was able to make it here to join us today. So we want to make clear his retirement didn't influence this selection. In fact, his retirement actually kind of worked against him, as our esteemed selection committee did not want this viewed as a parting gift during his last hurrah. So ultimately, despite its reservations about the retirement, the committee truly felt that Tim's body of work over 43 years in the profession and what he still aims to do, which I'm guessing we might hear about in just a second, made him an incredibly worthy recipient. So, Tim Charles, congratulations on being our selection for the prestigious Howard Hall Excellence in Business Award.
Thank you, Kelly. Yeah. Thank you, Kelly. I can't tell you, honestly, I can't tell you how thrilled I am to be standing here in front of you today. I want to begin with a story. And the story is this. The late Dr. Stuart McQuiston, who was a member of Howard Hall's Inner Circle, shared a observation, an account, and it was this. The city of Waterloo, and this is obviously going back several years, the city of Waterloo had been looking at Cedar Rapids and trying to understand what its source of vibrancy was. What was it that Cedar Rapids had that Waterloo lacked? And so they hired consultants. The Chamber of Commerce led this initiative. The consultants studied, they analyzed, and when the day came for them to present their findings, the Chamber of Commerce and city leaders expected reams of paper of data and observations and conclusions, and they were handed a single piece of paper. And that single piece of paper, face down, was blank, and then they flipped it over. And it said simply this: Howard Hall. Howard Hall's rootedness and civic-mindedness in Cedar Rapids have made all the difference. Howard Hall was actually a small man in stature, but became a giant, a titan, as we just heard. His family moved from Oslo, Iowa, to Cedar Rapids so that he could have access to a better education. And while he never completed high school, he actually later in life received an honorary doctorate from Coe College. We just heard that he was president of Iowa Manufacturing, but he also helped to found Amana Refrigeration, working together with George Forstner. He was the first to bring commercial air service to Cedar Rapids, understanding what the future would be. He and Margaret entertained presidents in their home, Brucemore. This past weekend, I received a wonderful congratulatory card from a Sister of Mercy who actually knew Howard Hall. And her card actually was I have it actually, and it says, "Congratulations on your promotion." And she couldn't be more on target. That is exactly how I feel today. But she went on to say in her comments that Howard would be proud that I was receiving this today. And I thought about that. And what came to mind was that she was reflecting upon this very special relationship that Howard Hall had with the Sisters of Mercy and with Mercy Medical Center. In fact, Howard Hall would often muse that his pool was the only pool in Cedar Rapids with holy water in it because it was the pool that the Sisters of Mercy would swim in. He was the only individual at that time that could bring his 2 imposing German shepherds with him when he visited his employees in the hospital. Sister Mary Lawrence reflected on Howard Hall. Sister Mary Lawrence was the Mother Superior of the Sisters of Mercy of Cedar Rapids at that time. And her comment was that Howard Hall loved all people. And as many of you may know, Howard Hall made additional commitments to this community through the work that he undertook with Mercy Medical Center, the first of which was the Hall Radiation Center. When his foreman, Tom Ross, needed to travel all the way to Toronto to receive cancer care, Howard Hall asked a simple question, which is, why isn't it possible for that care to be delivered right here in Cedar Rapids? And so he personally invested $250,000, which I did a quick calculation, which I think was probably 100 times more than my father was making at the time, raising 5 children. So he invested that, and in so doing, enabled the bringing to Cedar Rapids the first cobalt unit of its kind to Iowa and the third of its kind to the country, bringing state-of-the-art cancer care to our community. And in 1956, that opened. And then he went further. In 1960, he opened Hallmar, understanding that there would be a need for the aging community. These contributions that he made all the difference with respect to the life and future of Mercy Medical Center. As you know, the Hall Perrine Cancer Center, the cornerstone of the Hall Perrine Cancer Center is the Hall Radiation Center. And this summer, Hallmar will actually move to Hallmar Village with one slight change in the name. And the name now has a capital M in Hallmar, and that's a nod to Margaret Douglas Hall for her contribution to Howard's work when he was alive and her continued work on his behalf after he passed. I want to be very, very clear with you that I absolutely understand that I am here today, being honored today, because I followed the example of Howard Hall. I followed the example of the Sisters of Mercy. I followed the example of every recipient that precedes me. I am incredibly humbled that I am now a link in that chain. But I want to reflect on one more thing. And this is why I think it's so important that through the Economic Alliance that we take a moment to retell the narrative of Howard Hall. And it's this. At the turn of the 20th century, there was a philosopher and mystic named Simone Weil. And Simone Weil reflected upon community. And what she said was this. She said, becoming rooted in one's community is perhaps the most important and least recognized need of the human soul. She went on to define rootedness not as lineage or birthplace, but participation in the life of a community that preserves the treasures of the past and expectations for the future. So what is it that Cedar Rapids has that other communities don't? And I would suggest It is all those rooted, civic-minded people that live there. And that is all of you. That is us. Thank you very much for this honor.
Tim, thank you so much, and what a great tribute all of you just gave to him. Very well deserved, wonderful comments, and Tim actually surprised us a little bit with a really fitting tribute to Howard Hall. If you listen to him talk right now, it doesn't sound anything like retirement, and we've made a few references to the ongoing dialogue that he's engaged in. So congratulations. Speaking of titans in the business world, we want to spend the next few minutes remembering one who passed in 2022. We've rarely, if ever, done a remembrance like this at an annual meeting, but rarely, if ever, has there been a person more impactful, more influential on who we are as an organization. Larry Waller was 82 when he died this past June in Cumming, Georgia, where he was enjoying retirement. Larry got his start in the Chamber of Commerce world as a manager at the Marion Chamber back in 1967. He went on to lead chambers in Billings, Montana, Rapid City, South Dakota, Huntsville, Alabama, and of course, here in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Larry was president and CEO of the chamber here in what were arguably the darkest of economic times in the history of the city. The farm crisis of the 80s devastated this entire region with business foreclosures, farm bankruptcies, high unemployment, and widespread economic uncertainty. With Larry's leadership, those troubled times became the advent of many of the programs that still exist today. In fact, the very way we do economic development today was shaped by those days. Larry convened community leaders into what became known as the Committee of 100, a group that determined the regional economy could keep agribusiness as the core of its economy, but that we also needed to aggressively and proactively diversify into other sectors, a strategy that no doubt gets credit for much of the stability and prosperity we've enjoyed since then. Larry hired the Chamber's first full-time legislative lobbyist to make sure our business voices were heard at the state legislature. He brought the idea of a leadership program from a national conference, which resulted in the formation of Leadership for 5 Seasons program. And he helped integrate the urban and rural elements of the agribusiness community by working to establish the Celebration of Agriculture dinner. All three of those things remain central to how we do business today, with an active and ever-present voice at the legislature, with a Celebration of Ag event about to celebrate its 36th annual event right here at the Doubletree on March 27th, and with the Leadership for 5 Seasons about to graduate its 40th anniversary class, which you'll hear more about next. I never got the chance to meet Larry Waller. He had moved on to new opportunities just a couple of years before opportunity brought me to Cedar Rapids. But I've been honored to get to know the history and context of what Larry's leadership brought to this organization through stories from Kristen Novak, from Jack Evans, from Dwight Hughes, and others. Having the humbling privilege to lead an organization that is now 105 years old, I am ever aware that we stand on the shoulders of those who have come before, and a giant among those was Larry Waller. I'm also pleased that we share this tribute today in the presence not only of Kristen Novak, seated right down here with us, but also attending with Kristen today is Larry's son, Jeff Waller, who lives in Davenport and was able to join us today. And now just a bit more on the lasting legacies of Larry Waller and our Leadership for 5 Seasons program. Joining me now on stage, come on up, Charity, is Charity Tyler. Charity is the executive director of the Cedar Rapids Public Library Foundation. She also has played a major role with the Economic Alliance. She served the past 4 years on the policy board. Prior to that, she served for 6 years on the Business Support Innovation Council, including chairing that group for a year. She helped form our Young Professionals organization back in the day, And for the purposes of this part of the program, she is a proud alumnus of the Leadership for 5 Seasons class of 2005. She's, yes, she's here today to highlight a special milestone coming up for LFS.
Thank you, Doug. All right, so Leadership for 5 Seasons is the region's premier leadership program. It focuses on developing top talent through formal leadership curriculum, but it is unique in its community-based approach. Just as important as the leadership component, Leadership for 5 Seasons provides participants with in-depth community knowledge, career-long connections, and inspiration to make a positive impact on the community where we live and work. By any measure, LFS has contributed an outsized positive impact on this community. Nearly 1,500 emerging leaders have graduated from the class since Larry Waller first brought the concept here to Cedar Rapids and worked with the Junior League of Cedar Rapids to get the program started. Additionally, hundreds more have come through the executive, the college, and the youth programs of LFS that were started over the years after. The alumni roster reads like a who's who and the most successful people in the community. Want proof of that? Let's try this out. Okay, anyone, please stand if you've been part of Leadership for 5 Seasons program, whether it's the adult program, the executive program, or the youth program. Come on, stand up. Stand up. Stand up if you've been part of any class since 1983. So that is the impact of LFS. Among those standing were quite a few members of the class of 2005. Shout out. This was my class, and it really was such a meaningful experience in my life. The experiences we shared really allowed us to come together for each other and for the community. We worked together to furnish and revitalize the domestic violence shelter on a shoestring budget. When a classmate's wife was hospitalized with a brain tumor, we took on the roles of providing for their pets, doing their grocery shopping, and even providing meals to them. In this class, I formed lifelong friendships with some that I see very regularly and others that I know are just a phone call or an email away when I need networking connection, when I need an open door, or simply an ear. The class for me was also life-changing. It changed the path of my career, helping me move from the financial services industry into nonprofit leadership. We had a lot of fun too. I think most classes, and feel free to give a shout out, have their shenanigans. The stories we tell when we get back together, but no one in this room will ever really hear the full details. Many classes also have hashtags. My class's hashtag is "What coffee table?" I don't know, that story shan't be told from the stage. Back to the impact. So listen to the statistics from a recent survey of Leadership for 5 Seasons alumni. 86% agreed or strongly agreed that the connections they made through Leadership for 5 Seasons helped them advance personally or professionally. 84% say their involvement in the community has increased since the program. Now that's something to celebrate, and celebrate we will. One of the highlights of 2023 Economic Alliance Plan is to bring Leadership for 5 Seasons alumni back together to mark the 40th anniversary of the program. Mark your calendars, on June 1st, right here at the Doubletree, we're going to be hosting a major networking event at which we expect to have at least one table from each of the 40 classes. So this is my challenge, class of 2005, stand up. Now all of you other classes, please bring it on. Okay, so make sure to RSVP and attend this event. The evening will focus on leadership and community impact. It will no doubt have its share of nostalgia, and the people in that room will be thinking just as much about what they accomplished, but also about the future and future impact on this community. It'll be an opportunity to reconnect with classmates and retell your stories, like What Coffee Table, and a chance to work together on new calls to action to improve our community. If you haven't already, you should be hearing from a member of your class that we're calling a table captain. You should mark June 1st on your calendars and connect with that table captain to be sure you're in attendance. Again, I'm so honored to be able to speak about leadership for 5 seasons, and now I'm going to pass this mic back over to Doug. Thank you, Doug.
Okay, I'm going to do some very brief introductions as our panelists come forward, and we've got a little bit of a set change here as well. That's something new for the annual meeting. Speakers, as you start coming forward, I want to talk a little bit about our keynote discussion today among leaders in their family-owned businesses that also use the family name as the name of the business. They'll reflect on the pride and sometimes the trepidation it brings to have your own name up on the sign. We were surprised when we did research for this part at how many Economic Alliance businesses do use their family name. About 150 businesses, almost 15% of our membership, share that fact. These 5 companies were invited just as a sampling of these types of businesses. I know there are many more of you in the audience, and I think the messages today will resonate. Our appreciation goes out not only to these 5 businesses, but to all of you in the audience who share the business values, the loyalty to their legacy, the commitment to philanthropy, the love of community that you'll hear strongly evident during this panel discussion. We're running just a little bit behind, so I'm going to rely on you to read their bios on the thing and just introduce them by name. So guys, come on up a little quicker than we practiced this. But Steve Ginsberg from Ginsberg Jewelers, Daryl High from High Properties, Ted Kepros from Kepros Physical Therapy, Jamie McGrath from McGrath family of dealerships, and Paul Phelan from Phelan's. I also want to introduce our moderator, Quinn Pettifer. She's the manager of brand initiatives at the Gazette. I had lots of wonderful things to say about her that I'll say another time. I do want to just note, while the Gazette doesn't bear the family name, how important it is to this community, to me personally, that this was a family-owned business for more than 100 years, and it remains a locally owned independent newspaper, one of the rare locally and independent-owned newspapers left in a metro this size anywhere in America. The Gazette this month is celebrating its 140th anniversary of being in business in Cedar Rapids, an incredible accomplishment, and one we're happy to help celebrate as well. So with that abbreviated introduction, Quinn, let's take it away.
All right. Thank you, Doug. Good afternoon, everyone. As mentioned, I'm Quinn Pettifer with the Gazette, and honored to be moderating our panel here this afternoon. I've actually had the privilege of working with our panelists in various capacities over the years, but have really never had the chance to sit down and hear from you, your stories, your unique pathways. So when invited to do so, why not do it in front of a few hundred of our closest friends, right? All right. As Doug mentioned, we have several questions prepared today, and while 30 minutes might seem like a long time, it's going to go by pretty quickly with 5 panelists. So we have, for efficiency, we've taken the liberty of customizing questions that are the most relevant to each panelist. And I want to start actually with Steve and Jamie. As Doug was going to mention, but you're all seeing in the bios in your annual program, Steve, Jamie, your family businesses are multi-generational, actually 4 generations deep. I want to hear a little bit from both of you about your personal decision to join the family business. Was it just an automatic? Did it take some soul searching? Were there other options? How'd you get there? Let's start with you, Jamie.
Okay, yeah. So I did not know right away that I wanted to be a part of the family business, and I was fortunate that my parents and family were very open and letting us and my siblings to kind of choose our path on our own. But I definitely saw a pull towards that throughout my life. I even pulled up one of my books that was like, in first grade, what do you want to be? And one of them said, like, a car dealer. And so,
Who would have guessed?
right? I think seeing, my dad and our family so passionate about it definitely draws you to it. But as I grew up, I was trying to still figure out what I wanted to do. And maybe because I didn't know a lot about cars, I was hesitant. But then when I got older and went into college, I realized it was more about people and relationships. And actually, my grandpa always said, we're in the people business first, the car business second. And I think once I kind of realized that, I was like, I love people. That's the thing that fulfills me the most. And so why not do it with the people that I love the most? And it's, never looked back. It's been awesome.
You did your homework, and here you are today.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Thank you. Steve, how about you?
Growing up, I wanted nothing to do with my family business. And it wasn't until I went out on my own, and to my parents' credit, they never pressured me into the business. So I never had that obligation, which could lead to resentment. So I went off and did my own thing. And then I realized about 12 years later, the family business is going to fall into my lap one day, and I better know what I'm doing and what kind of decision I should make. So I happened to be in New York at the time, and I worked in the jewelry industry in New York. And I discovered through education and practice that I loved it. And with all due respect, I realized that my father was not a good enough teacher and didn't instill those aspects, that he was a merchant and I was a more educated gemologist. So that played a huge role in my confidence to then look at the opportunity, which is unique, to come into the family business. And so I did a 180 and came right back.
You found your way. Absolutely. Thank you, Steve. Paul, I want to move on to you. You've got 3 generations at Phelan's Interior, and over those generations, you've made a couple of pivots in the business and the business strategy. Can you talk a little bit about these pivots and what made them so successful?
Well, number one, I think the number one thing you have to do is understand who you are as a company and a person. If, as a company, you want nothing more than profit, chances are you're going to make some decisions that won't bode well for the business. Honesty, ethical behavior, and hard work is what we camp on. I was fortunate enough to be born and raised in a home that had a very strong faith. So when your home life and your work life are on the same path, it works great. So foundation's huge. The other one is kind of, when you're in a business, it's like, look at the trends. So what are the trends telling you and what's going on? When I joined Phelan's, it was then called Cedar Rapids Paint. So we were a paint store. We had a retail division and a wholesale division. When we got out of the wholesale division, we had 147 lumber yards that we were calling on, lumber yards and hardware stores in small communities, but we saw the erosion of the small town businesses due to the big box stores moving in that area. And it was becoming very obvious to us that's not where we're going to stay. Sometimes making those tough decisions you have to do. The same held true with the retail. So you take a look at the small towns, it's just kind of a preview of things to come. So we began to develop the residential interior design firm, and when we ended up getting rid of the paint, it was like 2% of our revenue. So it was good decisions. Before that, the retail division and residential design is really where we got a niche. And the niche was awesome. It was one of the very first true interior design firms where it wasn't a furniture store. It was a nailed down concept. So when you came in the store, you didn't say, I'll take that, and you take it home. We showed it so you could order from that. So it was high quality, took time to get it. The designer would come out and show you the fabrics. Did I mention trends?
A couple times.
Okay, so the next trend is, as you saw people's shopping habits, there would be times when people come in and say, I want to buy something that I can hand down to my kids. And I'm like, your kids don't want your furniture. We've all been offered furniture from mom and dad, right? Well, the trends shifted from the quality aspect, also from, I don't want to wait, I want to get it now. I'm coming in, I want to get it now. So in order to do that, we have to sacrifice or analyze what do we want to do as a business, and we realize that we're going to have to go to lower quality, and that's just not who we are. So one of the best decisions we ever made was to exit that market. Our new tagline is love where you work. And when you do what you do best, you love where you work.
You pay attention to the trends and you keep innovating, which is excellent. Thank you. So I'm going to shift focus here to what we affectionately are calling the new kids on the block, which Daryl and Ted, being both of you first generation, first in your name. Along those lines, you had the opportunity to set up your businesses anywhere, and you chose here. So why here?
Well, in 1987, when I moved to Cedar Rapids, I can't say that my permanent plan was I was going to stay forever. I was here to kind of regroup, and then I was going to go back to the southeastern part of the United States where I grew up to go to school. But I had an opportunity to invest in a few transactions of what would become kind of the starting point or the foundation of high properties. But probably the choice for us was a little later, about 5 years into our business. We did look hard at some other parts of the country, Charleston, Nashville, Phoenix. A couple of those we were already doing some business. But ultimately, the decision to stay was just because of the people and the relationships that we had made in such a small amount of time. To come here, to not know anybody really, to kind of be adopted by the city. And those decisions were made, as a 26 or 27-year-old business person, probably didn't have the bench strength as some of my friends up here with their families. I can tell you now, 30 years later, the bet on Cedar Rapids was the best decision we ever made.
Excellent. We're glad you're here. How about you, Ted?
Yeah, I was originally in Kansas City for my final clinical rotation, and I remember looking at Kansas City. It was a great town. I was part of the Chiefs organization. I got an opportunity to work with them. Joe Montana was in one of his seasons there, so it was a really neat opportunity to work with the team. And so I thought for sure, this is where I'm going to stay. And looking back at that, what brought me back to Cedar Rapids, because I had another opportunity here, was all the individuals who were mentors that really kind of stuck out to me. And I remember being 17 at an awards ceremony, and I had won something for leadership. And there were people from Collins Aerospace, there were people from Kirkwood Community College, there were individuals on the board from Aegon and all these different areas. And they each gave me their card and each said, hey, whatever you need, let me know. So that was a big factor in it. And then I think the other aspect was just, we're such a geographical hub. Coming back and forth between Kansas City, what I realized is, it's 4.5 hours, but it's also 4.5 to Minneapolis and to, going over and going up into Madison and going over to Chicago, 3.5. And so now what's really worked to our advantage is that we have a lot of athletes that come through, and they're all from this region. And so we have partners as well as athletes that we're able to service. And, that's been a really nice opportunity, being so close in this hub, but still being part of this community, as Daryl alluded to. The people are great.
Not just about the accessibility within our region, but the access states surrounding us.
Absolutely.
That's excellent. Thanks, Ted. Steve, I want to talk to you a little bit about some monumental decisions that you've made in your business over the years, including a big paradigm shift that you shared with us a couple months ago in the pre-meeting. And without making it, it could have stopped you from being successful or even in business today. Can you talk a little bit about that shift and how crucial was that decision then, and how does it still impact your business today?
Sure. First, I want to, I don't think I'm unique, but when I was asked to be a part of this panel, I thought of other family-named businesses in my industry. And I just want to mention them now because competition's good, right? Anyway, it's the health of a community. Siegel's Jewelry, Boyson Jewelry, Bentley Watch Repair, Sibke Hoyt Jewelry. So I'm not the only one here, and they're here with me. The paradigm shift that you're talking about, I brought up when my grandfather moved up here from Sedalia, Missouri in 1930, the onset of the Depression. He decided to become a credit jeweler, and that was risky. So his slogan was, walk in with a dime, walk out with a diamond. Well, we discovered, and that was a paradigm shift, but that was also an industry trend. And he wrote his own paper, and the recourse was on him. So maybe 15, 20 years ago, we said, oh, not anymore. So we have other people write our paper, and we are no longer necessarily a credit jeweler like that. So the paradigm shifted to a different place. And then when we opened our current store, we shifted in how we engage the customer in the store in terms of our displays. And now, of course, well, I don't know, maybe not of course. During COVID, we had Facebook Live fashion shows. So the whole paradigm shift of incorporating social media is ongoing.
Getting creative, especially in recent times, is a continuous theme I think we can all absolutely relate to. But thank you, Steve. Paul, I want to talk to you a little bit about one of our favorite topics, which is getting involved in the community. It's been said that we're kind of in a Goldilocks zone when it comes to the size of our actual community. Not too big, not too small, just right. And certainly a benefit for people that want to get involved, whether that's volunteering or community leadership levels, however deep you want to go when it comes to community. But talked a little bit about the relationships that you have built here because of your community involvement and the connection that it's made to the success and growth of your business.
Yes, and it is a great community, isn't it? It's awesome. The best example I can give is Daybreak Rotary. So in 1995, I had the opportunity to charter a new Rotary club. That club was called Daybreak Rotary, and it had kind of a unique membership because in order to charter, you had to have 25 members. All 25 members were quite young. We all had kids. We didn't have much money, and ways to participate is time, talent, and treasure, right? Well, we didn't have treasure or talent. We had time. So the projects that we did a lot were down at Polk School, and that turned into a lot of playgrounds. But ultimately what it meant was we're shoulder to shoulder doing projects together. And when you have like-minded people working on a common goal to improve the community, your friendships go a lot deeper. And so when your friendships go deeper, who do you like to do business with? You like to do business with your friends. And so what a great opportunity, because it's stretched out of just one group into the other 4 Rotary groups. And due to that, there's just been a ton of friends and nothing better than that.
Those contagious connections,
Yes.
right? Another favorite topic, going to Ted and Jamie, is philanthropy. And both of your businesses are well known for philanthropy. Giving back has been a part of your mission for a long time. Why do you believe it's important to give back? And what are the emotions that run through when your family name is up on a project or on a donor wall or at an event? Connect that with the mission and the high priority of giving back.
Yeah, I can start with, from a family perspective, it's always been one of our missions to give back. In fact, I was reminiscing with our good Mayor O'Donnell when we were walking in because she had interviewed my Chloe when she was in 4th grade. She was creating a backpack, just a process to give back to local kids that didn't have certain situations such as pajamas and backpacks. And she was interviewed, and so it was just really neat process. So a little bit the same thing where, growing up, it wasn't so much the treasure and talent, but it was definitely the time, and so that's what we wanted to give. And now transitioning to have that opportunity, some things like, just some incredible different aspects like Catherine McCauley and Willis Dady, and I think of Matthew 25, that Clint and I get together and chat from time to time. And these are phenomenal organizations that just give back and make sure that our community has a basis that everyone is taken care of, which is really neat. And so having the opportunity, from the family name standpoint, it's always interesting because I look up at the logo now, and to be honest with you, I really don't even see my name. I see an entity, but to be able to give and to expand that, and now kind of futuristically look at building the foundation and doing some things where we know we're going to be able to give for the future, that's something that's incredible to be able to share with our kids, and most importantly, share with this community.
Yeah, very similarly. Really, we have had a mission statement for a long time as a company, and really started probably from a family of do the right thing, exceed expectations, and make a difference. And I think first and foremost, it's the right thing to do is to give back to the community. And I think a lot of times I think about too, our community as a whole is stronger when we're all stronger, and so many people benefit and utilize these amazing nonprofits that are in this community here. And I think about, we have hundreds of employees, and multiple employees I'm sure have used an array of organizations in this community. Our coworkers, our family members, and everybody along the lights, our customers. And I think if we build our community stronger, we only benefit from that, and we've been able to utilize each other and grow from it. And you want to have a strong basis for everybody, and I think that that's been a big driver for us through that. And so much of that is a relationship too, where we have organizations come in and help us or help our people, and then we go in turn and help them. And you had mentioned the name, and I'm very similar. I don't see it honestly as like, oh, that's my name up there, which is, it is. I think I feel really honored because I get to a lot of times be a part of the decision making. Because really, without the people in our organization that is working every day to help us be able to give, the money or the time and volunteer to be able to give back to the community, we wouldn't be able to do that. And so I definitely see it as a whole organization, making that donation or that contribution. But I feel so lucky that I get to help be maybe the decision maker, the one communicating with the organization on how we're going to be able to participate in there.
That's authentic giving, right? From both you and Ted, there's that authenticity where your name don't even notice it anymore. It's just really about the act itself. So thank you. All right, Daryl, you're next. You ready? So a lot of people know what you do, but a lot of people don't realize just how behind the scenes and how many hats you wear when it comes to a lot of well-known development projects that have happened and are happening in our region. You have the unique perspective of seeing a project from concept to crossing the finish line. Talk a little bit about, from a business standpoint, what's the attraction for a business to come here, and then what's the secret ingredient for a business to be successful here?
Well, I believe the secret ingredient is us. I really do. When I saw the question, it didn't take me long to think about what I really believe, that whether in no particular order, it's our municipalities or our elected leaders, it's the EA, it's the development people, it's our utilities, it's our development community. We have lots of really good development companies. We have lots of really good general contractors and commercial and residential brokerage shops. And then just look at this room at the skill and the powerful business leaders we have. Congratulations, Tim, and to come up and to be retiring and to be thinking about still giving. It just says a lot about our community. And that is because I've worked in other communities that don't necessarily have it. That's our secret sauce, is our people.
All right, so this is a trifecta question for three of the panelists here, Steve, Jamie, and Paul. Given that you have such longevity as a family name business, what do you think your business is going to look like 50 years from now? What will be the same? What will be different?
You did say 50 years?
I said 50.
You realize I'm on the back nine of life, right? I have no idea what the name of the business might be. But
what's your vision? What's your dream for 50 years?
I can tell you, there's a lot of things that make up a family business, and I think more than anything else, it's the corporate culture. That's what makes a family business, and that will be intact, whatever they call failings in 50 years.
Thank you. Jamie?
Yeah, 50 years is a long time away. We've been in business for 70 years, and I think, we talk a lot about HB, who's my grandpa would have never imagined we are where we are when he had his first store, and then Cedar Rapids downtown, one Pontiac store. And so to see that growth has been amazing, and obviously to continue on that would be cool. When I first looked at this question, I'll be 84. I will be here in Cedar Rapids at that time. And my uncle is actually 86, and he was the second owner that took over for my grandpa. He's 86 right now, and I think about him looking and going, wow, my son, my grandson, my brother, and my nieces and nephews, and things like that are part of it. I mean, that's the ultimate ideal, that 50 years I'll get to do the same thing, and whether cars can float or, drive themselves or whatever, I think we'll be selling them in whatever capacity.
McGrath will still be behind it,
we'll
right?
be selling those cars, whatever way they run, we'll be doing it. At least that's my hope. Obviously, I don't know if my kids will, and I would give them the same respect my family gave me, but we got a lot of them between us, so I'm sure somebody's going to want to do it. So
The odds are in your favor, right?
the odds are in my favor. Yeah, we'll see.
Thanks, Jamie. Steve.
Well, Jamie, I'll be 112 then.
And still
He'll
here.
be here too.
And so the only way I can answer this, because I didn't expect to be at this point here, is that one of my grandchildren will open the first storefront on Mars selling Earth rocks.
I love it. We all have different dreams, right? Yeah. All right, so for Daryl and Ted, as first-generation companies, you've both obviously seen tremendous growth since starting your business and are in it for the long haul. But I have to ask, when you do think about retiring, do you think this will remain a family-owned business? And how important is that to you?
Well, we do plan to continue the business in the family. We've worked hard in planning and building our executive leadership team, and we're proud of what we've built, but we still think we have some stuff to do, and so hopefully family members will be able to participate in that. I have 5 children, so hopefully I can draft a couple of them, but that's the game plan.
You've had some good advice on stage on how to make that happen, right? Just kind of ease.
I've enjoyed getting to know each and every one of these folks,
right.
And hope to continue to learn.
Ted, how about you?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've worked in the public sector and private equity sector, and now, owning my own. And regardless of whether or not it's in the bloodline, I know that we're going to move on and make sure that we continue to have it be a business that's locally owned. Part of that is the giving back feature. But also, we have, a belief of having a top-down vision and bottom-up autonomy. And because of that, we've created this talent pool that is amazing. And when we started, I laughed because our business director is here today. And I remember she started out front desk with me. We were actually myself, her, and one other person, and 5,000 square feet. And she said, "How big do you think this is going to get?" And I said, 5 or 6 people. And 3, 4 offices later, and now 30 plus employees and so forth. Every day I'm humbled by it. It blows me away. But what I know is those people have the vision, and so I'm sure my kids will have some involvement, but it'll probably be minimal, and it'll be their legacy that moves it on. So I'm looking forward to that. Plus, if Steve lives to 112, that's a lot of total knees and things that we'll be able to work on. So. Looking forward to it, buddy.
All right, so we have a couple minutes left, so we're going to do a little bit of a speed round with these last remaining questions. This is going to be for all of you, so whoever wants to take this first one. Obviously, we're all gathered here today for the Economic Alliance's annual meeting. Talk a little bit about how the Economic Alliance has helped your business over the years, and if there's any others that have been a source of support for you.
Okay. Several times, several people mentioned community. Well, the Economic Alliance provides not only a community of people, but a community of businesses and networking and examples to follow.
No, that's okay. I was going to say just the opportunity. It's amazing. You think of a small kid from the West Side that just had a vision that kind of developed it, and now having the opportunity to rub elbows with folks like this, and every day having those individuals to go to and ask questions, and it's an open door all the time.
I was just going to say all the way back to the Chamber and Priority One and now the EA. I mean, they've been a pillar, connectivity. Like I said, when I started the program, to take somebody that's not from here and welcome them and allow them to participate, it's been an important part.
Yeah, personally, I was a graduating class of 2018 for Leadership for 5 Seasons. Woo woo! I know there's a few of you in here. So personally, being able to make those connections through the Economic Alliance was huge, and I loved that experience for myself. But also as an organization, being able to connect with so many different businesses. And I know that Ted mentioned that the open door of if you email anybody or call them and say, hey, I'm thinking about this, how do you guys handle that? It's always a, sure, let's meet, let's do this. And creating that collaborative culture and that community has been just absolutely, beneficial for everybody. It's been awesome.
1991 class leadership, awesome class. And what's amazing is you see somebody and you have a special bond. So the other thing is the open houses and the classes that they provide through, and the education is amazing. So thank you to everybody from the Economic Alliance. You do a great job.
Absolutely, always learning. Okay, so last question here. In 5 words, Nikki gave you 5 words. I was going to say 3 words or less, but in 5 words or less, what's the outlook for your business in 2023?
Challenging, not because of sources outward of us, but because we set high goals. Mm-hmm. I'll say rewarding because we'll meet those goals, and I'll say fun because of the group I get to work with.
Nailed it in 3. Ooh, challenge. You can keep going with 5. Go ahead.
Yeah, by just 5 words, we always find a way.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Yeah.
I am enthusiastically conservative, cautious.
It went the roller coaster effect, right?
Yeah.
Ted, how about you?
Mine more than anything is creative optimism, because I think we're going to need to be creative, but it's all there. The opportunity's there.
Continue engaging customers.
All about the customers. Excellent. I think that's a great note to wrap. I want to thank the Economic Alliance for organizing our time together, and thank, of course, our panelists for not only joining me today, but for all of your hard work and commitment to our region. As a member of a locally owned business, I just want to say that we're proud and we're excited for everything that you do. Thank you. Excited for what's ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, wow. Thank you guys so much. That was awesome. And if I have to admit, the most nerve-wracking thing today was making sure I didn't drop the podium, so I did it. Woo, I didn't even work out this morning, so I'm done. I'm good. All right, so my name is Nikki Wilcox. I'm the Communications Director over here at the Economic Alliance. And Doug and I, we're going to take you to the finish line. And I promise we'll get you out on time. Yes? Yeah? Ish? Okay. So this is our opportunity to give you just a brief sneak peek of some of the big things that we have planned for 2023. So on the screen, you can see our mission statement. And we take this mission statement at the Economic Alliance very seriously. We repeat it and discuss it as a team when we face decisions on what initiatives to tackle and also those not to tackle due to the limited staff and resources. But the Help Businesses Succeed part has been particularly compelling since the pandemic, and it drives another variation of our Buy Local initiative for 2023. The Economic Alliance has a long history of establishing programs to support businesses, and that's been especially true during the last 3 years. We've done Downtown Dollars, Rally Cap, my personal favorite, Cedar Rapids Restaurant Week, which is February 16th, get ready, and also Buy, Give, Grow. And we have greatly expanded these over the last 3 years. We can talk about all the caps and the t-shirts and the punch cards, but what really has mattered is that we have helped businesses, and we have actually even helped save some businesses. We have not heard from 1 or 2, but numerous businesses saying that the outpouring of local support accelerated by these campaigns kept their doors open and kept their people employed. And for businesses in danger of closing, these businesses spurred success with average revenue gains of more than 40% at business participating in these campaigns. So the big question was, what's the next step? How do we capitalize on all that momentum? Well, we did ask that of our 25 members on our Business Support Innovation Council. Through their brainstorming, an awesome idea was born. Sustain those business to consumer, buy local efforts is what the council members told us. But now we're going to additionally let's start a new business to business initiative. On March 19th, a special buy local program will be launched, and this date is very important because if you write out the date, you'll write the numbers 319, which of course is our area code. So the 319 Support Local program will ask businesses to make a pledge and also a strong commitment to look closely at your product and your service vendors and switch at least one of your out-of-area vendors to a local 319 company. Instead of ordering your business cards from an online giant, check out one of our many local printers who will craft a top-notch product. You need a new website, like a beautiful one like ours? Well, we are home to several award-winning companies who live and breathe this every single day right here in this area. The same idea goes for insurance and financial needs, trucking, banking, manufacturing, office supplies, and the list goes on and on. We encourage you to think creatively about this call to action. It doesn't have to be just products or materials and equipment. Are any of you still sneaking away to Chicago, Des Moines, or Moline for a commercial flight? Well, first off, shame on you, and I'm sure all the people at Fly CID will say the same thing. So part of the buy local could be fly local, so spring break, personal trips, business trips. Marty Lenz will tell you that it can make a difference and that the passenger support did make a difference in landing the new direct flight to Washington, D.C., and in maintaining other destinations, even as airports across the country are losing their destinations. But this campaign should not be a sacrifice. We would never ask our member companies to accept inferior products or services in the name of buy local. But what we found is that when we talked about buy local opportunities at our Business Support Innovation Council, everyone was saying, I didn't know that business existed, or we have that here in the Cedar Rapids, or they're over in Marion, we had no idea. So of course, our new website, our membership directory is awesome, and we'll be able to help direct you guys to the best businesses that you're looking for. So again, it won't be a sacrifice, it'll be about effort and information. Our region is home to wonderful local companies, just like the 5 amazing panelists you heard up here, and so much more. And in many cases, the local alternatives offer better pricing and of course, better customer service. We ask you to support this 319 Support Local initiative and sign the pledge when the program is launched on March 19th. So be on the lookout for the communications from my team about this in our e-blasts, social media, and also with our local media partners. Another initiative worth mentioning today is the latest new efforts on workforce. No surprise, I'm guessing. We understand that workforce is still a large concern for many of our organizations. By far, the biggest evolution in the 12-year history of Economic Alliance has been all of our resources that we've devoted to workforce. It wasn't even in our own core function when the organization began. Now it has its own budget, its own goals, metrics, and even its own leadership. As members, you will soon even have more access to the workforce tools than you've had previously. We'll continue to sustain the myriad of programs already in place, such as Talent Hub, Workforce Solutions Guide, Impact CR, among others. But added to that will be a new resource webpage full of workforce recruitment videos and collateral. While we're still adding all those resources to our brand new website, we wanted to give you a little sneak peek of a video series that will be available for your use in your workforce recruitment efforts. So the particular video that you're gonna see is a compilation of a 6-part video series where each one has a specific focus, such as our amazing airport and the ease of travel, the number of nonprofits in the area and how easy it is to be involved, the fantastic food scene in our metro, the wide array of events that provide entertainment and culture appreciation, and the work-life balance and time-saving efforts residents achieve by setting down roots here in the community. So let's take a look. All right, fantastic. So again, yes, those were awesome. So these will be separated out into 6 different digital files, and those will all live on our website. And I know they're not there yet. We're just giving a little sneak peek, but we will email them to our entire member base when they're up, so let you know that they're there. And so please use 1, 2, all of them, however you want in your workforce initiatives. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Doug to take us to the finish line.
I have a whole binder full of annual meeting parts that I didn't get to say because I always run short of time. So I'm going to sell those someday, all the things that I didn't get a chance to say at the annual meeting. And Nikki just got her first couple of pages that she didn't get to say. So thanks for keeping us on time. Listen, we get a chance to talk to a lot of you. We don't always get a chance to share everything that we wanted to, but hopefully we are able to point out a number of highlights. And even if we didn't get to everything that we planned, you get a sense of all that we're working on. I want to close in just these last couple of minutes with a couple of reflections really on some of the wisdom shared by all the speakers today, and just think back to that. Tim, I told you, you threw me a little bit of a curveball because I thought you were going to talk a little bit about engaging seniors and older populations. It's, you know, if you haven't talked to Tim recently, the guy's not retiring. He has a great passion around a particular large demographic in our community and what that might mean to community building. And I do want to reflect on that, even though your comments didn't. You know, senior living and those issues haven't traditionally been the role of an economic development agency. But the things that Tim is talking about in this community, if you haven't heard those yet, I'm sure you will. They're so poignant, and his challenges right now come at a time of new relevance to those issues. Statewide, there's a concerning drop in the percentage of younger men in the workforce, but that's not true here, where workers in that category have actually returned at greater numbers now than pre-pandemic levels. Here, the concerning fact is that our most significant labor force fall off has been with people 55 and older. They left the workforce in 2020 and they have not returned. So that sector could certainly be a focus of our workforce growth strategies. What kind of work would be fulfilling and compelling for 55 plus people and wind up being a win-win for employers? If the Economic Alliance can help facilitate a broader community conversation about that, particularly about the workforce components of that, we'd love to help. At the other end of the age spectrum, the comments Hugh made about the connection between businesses and the future generation were thought-provoking. Again, this isn't space traditionally that economic development organizations have worked in, but think about this. In economic development, the calling cards that matter the most are things for which your region is unique, when you have assets that other communities can't match. The rush of economic development prospects we saw in 2022, for example, might not have been half as great if we weren't marketing the Big Cedar industrial property that Alliant Energy had the courage and foresight to assemble and certify. The land, the location, the city services, the utility services, the infrastructure can't be matched by very many other communities, and so it's been a huge advantage that's brought us into far more conversations than we used to be in. Back on the education front, Iowa Big has been that type of unique asset, attracting nationwide attention for its career and business-connected education. And City View High School could potentially be that too, something that not only leads to educational excellence, but also a unique asset to market this great region. And so I know there will continue to be very thoughtful, very deliberate, very discerning debate about that and just where the Economic Alliance might fit into those conversations. There were so many thought-provoking conversations from this panel of speakers, and none of that was pre-scripted, so I need some time to digest all of that. But my immediate reaction, my immediate reflection on that is the incredible value of multi-generational, family-centered businesses who almost by definition think beyond tomorrow's bottom line and instead have this broad, future-oriented community purpose to their work. And finally, the remembrance of Larry Waller and the challenge his legacy presents. The list of things he started that are still foundational to what we do was astonishing to me. Do the strategic debates we're having now look ahead 30 or 40 years to what infrastructure, diverse business mix, coalitions, and partnerships we need to be successful down the road? There's certainly been some of that. I've certainly been part of some of those community conversations, perhaps best illustrated in the new 5-year Regional Economic Development Plan that I think does do a great job of capturing what we need to be doing now to make sure we're thriving decades from now. But it's also understandable that the last few years have been an exercise in just getting through the day. The pandemic caused such chaos that long-term plans were shelved in favor of pivoting and just reacting. And 2023 could have its share of distractions too, either with economic headwinds or with some other unknown challenge where we've learned not to be surprised by what the world deals to us. As we push ourselves to stay focused on longer-term priorities about what matters most to the business community and what matters most to economic growth, know that your input matters. The only metric I'm going to brag about just for a second is the 83% engagement statistic the Economic Alliance team achieved in 2022. That's double what it was just a few years ago, as we've made that a major point of focus. This is a membership organization, and we take that very seriously, getting out in the business community virtually every workday of the year to see your businesses, to talk to you, to get your opinions, to gather data on your workforce, your revenues, your business forecasts. It helps us to be better forecasters of what's going on in the local economy. And by the way, that doesn't necessarily always match what you hear in national headlines. And it helps align our programs and services to what is most relevant to you and most important to the community. There's more to tell, of course, as you might imagine, and as I've said, but that's the time we have today. We're going to continue to communicate with you in all the ways, our emails, our e-blasts, LinkedIn newsletters, all of our events. But I offer you this sincerely, as I have in the past. I'd love to talk with you, to tell you more about what we're doing and why and how we're doing it, but also to listen to you, your ideas, your stories, your reflections on all that's been shared today. We do what we do for you and because of you, and that fact isn't changing at all. One more time, I want to thank our sponsors, U.S. Bank, for being the presenting sponsor, and thanks also to all of our supporting sponsors today, to the many speakers. Great job by all of you, and thanks so much for your contribution to the meeting. A quick shout out to the DoubleTree team for the fantastic venue and the great service today, and in all the planning leading up today. And finally, thank you to each and every one of you, every member business in this room today. We're grateful to work on behalf behalf of your businesses, and we will continue to work hard every day to drive economic growth and to help businesses succeed. Thank you for coming. I can't wait to see what we do as a team locally, regionally, and beyond in 2023. Meeting adjourned.